We just got to Roger. You're recording? All right, I made the mistake of telling you all I was having a birthday, so y'all sent me nice birthday wishes. I appreciate that. You know, I probably should have known better. But I did get this message from a friend. Well, it's not playing up on the screen. Hold on. Look, it's not playing on the screen. Can you start it up there?
I can't start it with your
You
mouse.
can't start it?
No, that's your mouse, so you could do it. on
My
your
mouse
screen.
needs to do it?
Yeah, because you're sharing the screen. I don't have
Oh,
the
where's my
screen.
mouse?
Looks like it's right there,
Where?
right there.
Am I approaching that thing here?
It's not moving.
Yeah,
No, that's
maybe
not moving.
refresh the page.
All right, hold on a second. Well, the long and short of it is. That's still not working. Okay. Let me just escape this here. Now,
Maybe it's wrong.
all right. Excuse my lack of technical skills. Oh, now it still wants to start on this thing. I'll give it one more chance here. All right. Yes.
Yes.
I've got that move. Hey, there we
Are we
are.
gonna see the live version now?
Well, thank you all for birthday wishes. That was from a good friend of mine. Okay, so around my birthday, the judge approved the $418 million settlement that will alter real estate commissions. These are the headlines, right?
Yeah.
And this is the lead into all this is as part of the $418 million settlement, home sellers will no longer be required to pay fees to buyer's agents. Right?
This is New York Times.
This is New York Times, so this is what the public is reading and hearing, you know, these kind of things, so. Let me read more of this article, a settlement that will rewrite the way many real estate agents are paid in the United States has received preliminary approval from a federal judge. On Tuesday morning, the Georgia judge, blah, blah, blah. And the home sellers who sued the real estate trade group over its longstanding rules on commissions to agents that they may have forced them to pay excessive fees. So the court and the jury, that's kind of what they listen to these attorneys for the homeowners and so forth and so on. This paves the way for NAR to begin implementing sweeping rule changes required by the deal. The changes will likely go into effect among brokerages across the country by September 16th.
Oh,
Yeah, so this got pushed out from July, remember, to now they're saying September 16th would be an implementation date. But I think it probably will be sooner. We'll be dealing with these changes. In October, a jury had received a verdict, had returned a verdict that would have required the organization to pay at least $1.8 billion in damages. The homeowners who argued that NAR's rules on agent commissions forced them to pay excessive fees when they sold their property. Right? Is that how we do business? We force people to do things, right? But home sellers in Missouri successfully argued that the group, that's NAR's rules, that a seller's agent must make an offer of commission to a buyer's agent, led to inflated fees, and that another rule requiring agents to list homes on databases controlled by NAR stifled competition. Boy, they don't know how our business works. By mandating that commissions be split between agents for seller and buyer, NAR and brokerages who require their agents to be members of NAR violated antitrust rules according to the lawsuit. Such rules led to an industry-wide standard commission, right? That hovers near 6%, the lawsuit said. That's what the lawsuit said. Now, agents will be essentially blocked from making those commission offers. A shift that will, some industry analysts say, lower commissions across the board and eventually force down home prices.
Oh, yeah. Crazy.
All right, but this is the news. This is what's out there. The preliminary approval of the settlement comes as the Justice Department. Now, this is just the lawsuit, right? But now the Justice Department is jumping back into the picture and has reopened an inquiry and seeking information from NAR about brokerage commissions and how real estate listings are marketed. Justice Department now has a green light to scrutinize the fees and other NAR rules that have long confounded consumers. The notion is that we've confused the consumers. This is the first step. This is the good guy. This is the lawyer who represented this lawsuit, all right? This is his statement. This is the first step in bringing about the long-awaited change, said Michael Kenchmark, the lawyers who represented the home sellers in the main lawsuit. Later this summer, NAR will begin changing the way that homes are bought and sold in our country, and this will eventually lead to millions of dollars in savings for homeowners. Okay. Under the settlement, homeowners who sold homes in the last 7 years could be eligible for a small piece of a consolidated class action payout, depending on how many homeowners file claims by the deadline of May 9th, 2025. That could mean tens of millions of dollars to
Well,
America.
who's gonna, I mean, if they file, who's paying? We would pay our.
No, the 413 million they're getting from NAR, the $60 million they're getting from
No,
anywhere.
those are the homeowners for this suit, but how about future suits?
Oh,
They're saying-
they'll all get wiped out in this consolidated lawsuit,
I see,
because this is a federal lawsuit.
okay.
Now, the DOJ could have a whole separate thing going on, but so that's the DOJ. But,
Didn't some work it out that the homeowners end up getting like $5 each?
no, okay, so do the math. All right, so let's say right now they have $418 million from NAR. They get 60 million from anywhere, they get 60 million from Remax, they get, so let's say they get $1 billion in the pool.
Mhm.
How much of that are the lawyers taking?
Oh, big chunk, that's for sure.
How much?
60%.
Yeah,
500 million, all right,
Okay.
50%? All
Wow.
right, so the lawyers get 500 million. That leaves 500 million to distribute among 10 million home sellers over the last 7 years. What does that work out to?
A few dollars, $5.
$50 per head to go through all this trouble. All right, that's what we're talking about here.
Except for the lawyers.
Except for the lawyers, yeah, so.
But next year, someone's gonna sue the lawyers. That's when we go.
Well, you remember that, I think I said it here before, the old Shakespeare quote that my partner used to have on the wall. It says, first thing let's do is kill all the lawyers.
Yeah.
That was from Henry the play, the Henry V.
yeah.
Henry VIII. yeah.
So Gary, I have a question. Is this
Oh.
a grab on our industry from the attorneys? Are they trying to position themselves that they have to be involved if real estate is going to, if there's going to be a transaction made?
No, I haven't heard that scenario, Julie. Thank you for the question. No, I mean, in some, when I used to live in Chicago, lawyers were involved in every transaction.
Yeah, and East Coast. most-
East Coast, I think. you
Oh,
know,
yeah, we're the salespeople.
But no, that's not, they did it for a pretty minimal fee. The agents still got paid the agent fee,
Right,
and lawyers got paid a few $100 to look over the paperwork, yeah. Pardon me, you have a question?
No, I didn't
Gary.
realize the so what
Yes.
that'd be.
Yes.
Gary, this is Alex. Is NAR or any kind of organization actually trying to come up with a rebuttal or at least an educational output of what we really do versus what people think we do?
That's a good question, Alex, and we have done a good job telling the consumer what we're going to do. What we haven't done a good job about is telling them how everyone gets paid in a transaction.
Hmm.
So, I mean, here's a form, you can't see it probably here.
No,
or
I can
on-
see it.
But this is a form that's in our listing packet. And it says to our sellers that we will handle a pre-listing appointment, we'll set a time and a time frame, set a price and a time frame. We're marketing the property, we'll develop a marketing strategy, we'll we'll get the listing prepared and brought to market. We'll offer it to, and as when an offer is presented and negotiations begin, we'll be involved, the buyers will do their due diligence, we'll track the removal of contingency, and the transaction will be finalized and closed. So we give them an 8-step process about how they're gonna, but does it say anything about how we get paid?
No.
Or how the
No.
buyer's agent gets paid in there, right? So that's the education part that we really need to step up. Here's another form that I saw that one of our agents uses for a buyer. There's an initial appointment that we make, we acquire a pre-approval. We determine the purchasing parameters, we view homes, we write the contract. We oversee the earnest money deposit. We perform the home inspections or help with the home inspections. We do a final walkthrough. We execute, you execute the closing documents, and the home is delivered to the new buyer. So we have the steps of how a transaction is going to work. But does it say anything about how we get paid or how the buyer's agent gets paid? That's that's what they told us we've hidden from them. Because we buried it in some listing agreement that they initialed and signed, but they didn't understand.
Hmm.
So, yeah, we do have forms now, the buyer addendum on broker compensation. You should be using that in our TC, should be seen that is in every transaction where we're representing buyer. And the seller advisory and disclosure regarding commissions, and that should be in every listing we have, so. Parmita shared this one, this is a cute little thing off the internet, but this is kind of the, where we're going, so. Now we're going to have a buyer's commission structure. We're gonna be transparent and tell the buyers how we get paid. Well, we get paid at maybe 0.5% if the buyer will buy the first home we show them at the list price, all cash. They won't have any inspections. They won't repeat visits to the home or review the terms of the contract, and they will. We call them when it closes. Now, for that buyer, we'll charge them 0.5%. Okay, but they're just going to come in, buy the first house they see, all cash, and pay us
That's it.
0.5% when they close. Now, if they want a little more service, it'll be maybe 1%, and that would be you require the buyer require help in understanding what the house is worth, based on what the seller's asking. And you you want unlimited multiple showings of houses in the neighborhood. and you want CMAs and firsthand research about recent sold properties and calls to other agents. So we do those two things together and we'll get 1%. Okay, you still buy the home right away, all cash, no contingencies, close. Now, you want a little more, you know, maybe it's I have 1.5%. Please help me with the book, the inspections, interpret the findings, get quotes from appropriate tradesmen for repairs, and renegotiate with the seller. You want those services, that's another 0.5%. And then, you know, maybe another 0.5% for a buyer who's not a cash buyer. I require a loan to purchase. I want you to bring a lot of it, you know, do a lot of additional work and communicate with the lender and deal with the risk that you may not get your loan and not proceed with the deal. So you want that, then that's another 0.5%. So now we're up to 2.5%. If the buyer would like the realtor to be available during non-traditional hours, 9 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So if they want us on the weekend, work on the weekend, that's overtime and we charge another 0.5%, right? And then finally, we get to a 3% commission if they want the realtor to deliver all of the above with boundless enthusiasm, a constant smile on their face, and they expect a closing gift of you. So, I mean, that's a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but we're going to have probably a menu of services. Something like that.
Some brokers do that. Who is it? Was it Remix? Someone does that, or there's a broker that has like, these are the services I offer.
Yeah,
Which one do you
yeah.
want?
We do, like I said, we do tell them what services we offer. We just don't tell them how much they can pay for each one of those services.
Now, this is the buyer.
Yes.
Right, but the buyer traditionally has been paid for by the seller.
Right.
So in this case. Yeah, I don't get it, so, I mean.
Well, it kind
I mean, you
Doesn't that
still
fly
have
in the
to-
face of the whole idea that commissions are negotiable?
Yeah,
No, I mean, that's a menu list of commissions that you can pay for different services.
but the buyer.
Well, they
I
become
mean,
fees then and not commissions.
Yeah, I guess
it's
commissions
based
and
on-
fees are interchangeable.
Well, but commissions are based on purchase price. Let's say
Right.
if you sell $1 million house
Mhm.
versus a $200,000 house, so. it's not
Yes.
fees.
A lot of times when I'm working with people, they don't understand that there's a broker involved and there's a broker fee involved.
Oh, yeah.
Not understanding-
Again, my friend gave me a bag of coffee beans for my birthday. And it says infused beans. They're soaked in bourbon or something. So it says infused beans, and I said, oh, you mean confused beans? So that's what we've got. We've got confused
Yeah.
clients. And, you know, which is gonna take us more time to explain. And particularly around what you're saying, Liz, how the seller's agent gets paid, I mean, the buyer's agent gets paid, and why it's always been that way. And the way, you know. I think someone said the other day that about 10% of sellers in the marketplace want to do a FSBO. You know, they don't want to pay any fees.
Mhm.
And that's always been kind of a traditional number, and many of those FSBOs end up what?
Gonna be tough.
Listing with a realtor because they don't sell their home. And they figure out it's too much trouble. Now, is that seller who's doing the FSBO, is that an analytical person or is that an emotional person? Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
This is an emotional person. I don't want to pay that much money. They're doing the analytics of why we're worth what we're worth. So you gotta be
They're
careful who you're talking to.
They can also be arrogant and a driver.
Yeah. They know it all. And they know how to do it better than we do,
But
right?
I think one of the arguments for the sellers, they feel like, I mean, I just had one where the buyer beat us down in price. And saying, well, I have to pay this agent because she beat me down in price. And, you know, so
There's a
that's,
certain resentment in that.
Oh.
And how do we deal with that? you know, you keep them focused on the big game, right?
Right.
What's the big
Right.
game? Sell your home, walk away with some cash,
Right,
your net, your bottom line.
right.
How many of you use seller net sheets all the
I
time?
do all the time.
Yeah, you gotta use a seller net sheet when you first get an offer. Actually, when you list the property, you do the seller net sheet, you get one from the title company. You give it to them and say, okay, you're gonna net this amount. You know, you get an offer, you say, okay, that's not the offer, that's not full price, this is what you're gonna net. Is this all satisfactory? I mean, one of our agents has a client up, you know, and a listing. And she says, I'd really be happy if I net $975. Right, it's listed for $1.2 million. So we get an offer for, our agent gets an offer and the seller gets an offer for $1.1 million. She's gonna net $1 million over 975, right? What do?
They're upset now.
They say that's not enough, you know, it's worth
Right,
more than that. So they've forgotten the target here, you know, you gotta keep them looking at their target and their objective of what they wanna do. You wanna move? You wanna sell this place? What do you wanna do here? You know, so we gotta
Yeah,
keep them
yeah, they don't
in
sell.
touch with all that.
But in
It
some
is-
cases, you
I'm
don't
sorry.
do, I mean, like for me, in some cases, I've had it where. Well, actually, the woman who bought this Rock Springs, I'm the one who showed her the house and she wanted to buy it right away. And I said, well, it's brand new on the market. I can't represent you. So she called someone. So that woman, that agent showed only that house to this agent. But she did do a lot of work to make it happen. But
Mm.
still,
Mm.
you know, in some cases you could say, well, I didn't do that much work. I can reduce the price. Yeah, it's up to us really, right?
Yeah, as long as you get it cleared with the broker, because the broker's
Right, yeah.
Right.
gonna challenge you, do you really wanna take that discount?
Right.
Yeah, Alex?
Yeah, aren't net listings still legal in California?
No, I've never seen that we use net listings, have we?
I-
I don't know if it's illegal or not, but,
I mean, it's
Mhm.
one of the, well, whatever. I mean, like I said, California is new for me, but I thought that net listings are still legal. It's highly unrecommended, but you can do a net listing with a seller.
I've never seen that as a practice, actually. So I would have to check and see that if
Okay.
it's a legal practice. We don't have forms for that I'm aware of.
I
Okay,
don't understand what that is.
Whether you take the listing and say, I don't get paid unless you receive this much money from the transaction. A
well,
net.
also, yeah, and also too, if the seller gets what you agreed on as far as the selling price of the house, anything above and beyond that, the agent gets.
Yeah, that is illegal.
That is, okay.
That's illegal.
All right.
in California. Yeah, I know
Okay.
that.
And sounds highly unethical.
That's why they made it illegal, yes.
Gary,
Yes,
what I've done in the past is at some point early on, I explain what the split is, whether it's the buyer or the seller that I'm working with and how it works and who gets what, because they all think, you know, you're getting 6% and you're doing squat. And, you know, that's not the
Yeah.
case. So, so I'm planning on continuing to do that, but I just, you know, I think that should be a regular part of people's process. You
yeah,
know?
and you know, I made that big diagram that Kylie so artfully put together for me.
Uh-huh.
Of how the real estate industry works and what the agent does here, but how the agent relies upon all these other resources, broker
Yeah.
related. And so, you know, their own team related. And that's all work that we're doing in the background that nobody recognizes. So use that form. You say, hey, this is not as easy as it looks here, you know, just walking up and signing a few papers.
Yeah.
And it's not a few papers anymore, it's quite a few papers.
Where do I get
Oh,
that? Does
Oh,
Kylie?
I'll send it around again with the recording.
Okay.
So remember to use that buyer broker pamphlet we have with your buyers. It explains the advantages of having a buyer broker agreement, because we're gonna have to have them probably in the next 3 months. This will all be passed down. We're gonna probably by June, when CAR comes out with the new forms release. we'll
Mhm.
have a whole bunch of new
And,
forms.
and that basically says that the buyer, if they find a house that the seller is not willing to pay,
Mhm.
then they would, but I mean, it's. If they sign that, but what happens if they find a house? Yeah, it depends on the price of the house, how much they have to pay, whatever, I don't know, is it a percentage?
Yes,
It's
it
a
is.
Percentage,
It's just like a listing agreement.
okay.
You haven't been reading your agreements? Come
Come
on, Liz.
I know, but.
Read it again.
Okay, so it's a percentage.
It's
so-
it's just like a listing agreement in reverse.
Okay,
So practice it, practice it.
Well, I
You
haven't-
take out that buyer broker agreement and make sure you understand it, because we're gonna be asking people to sign it.
kind of,
Yeah.
okay,
And so,
I also explain to my buyers that there may or may not be a commission to me
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
that's-
I have to make a living.
Yeah.
And I explain that I have to, all these fees that come to me, I don't get to keep. I have to put them to the house to keep the lights on and the toilets flushing. And I also have to set aside some for Uncle Sam. And so by the time it all renders down, I'm making maybe 0.75%, 1%, But I also advise them that there may be a property that we're going to ask that the seller pay the
Mhm.
fees. But if the seller refuses, then we need to be ready to walk away from that property.
Mhm.
well, yeah, that's what you have to tell them if they don't
Yeah.
have, because a lot of buyers don't have the funds to pay. for
Right, and that's the thing we have to do with our sellers when we're explaining the reason you might offer compensation to a buyer's agent is because it gets you a larger buyer pool.
Right,
Now, I had a friend call me the other day and said, he's gonna sell a property, and he says, I want to pay all the fees because I want a deduction. I want to lower capital gains when it's calculated. So they made it very clear they wanted to pay all the fees. They wanted to pay less capital gains tax. That's why you need to evaluate each party you're talking to. Are they analytical? Can you explain this to them in an analytical way? Are they emotional? And just like you said, I don't want to pay them because they're gonna beat me down on the price anyway. Gotta deal with the party, and this is Roger's expertise of dealing with an analytical versus dealing with an emotional person. I'll let Roger do it. Any more questions on this?
Yeah,
Yvonne?
Garrett, I had a question. It seems like from some of the stuff that we're reading that the Department of Justice is really out to get to the real estate world. I mean, is that something you're picking up, that they really think that the way we've all operated for so long is really wrong?
I think, and this is actually true, that NAR, the realtors, we are all members of NAR. Our organization is one of the strongest lobbies in Washington. We influence a lot of people, us, and you know what the other big one is?
oil and gas or.
Oil and gas, NAR, NRA, NAR, NRA,
Pharmaceuticals.
pharmaceuticals, they're all big lobbies. Ours is just happened, I mean, I've read that they call us a cartel. I mean, we're just little realtors out here in Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make a living. So, but we're a cartel and we're, beating up all these buyers and sellers. I don't know. We're just gonna we will be changing the way we do business. Don't quit yet, Liz. It'll be okay. We can adapt. Rational adapters, we're called. We are rational adapters. We will adapt to whatever comes along.
So Gary, at this point,
Mark.
what do we say to our clients? Because I have, even though I'm not, in Sonoma right now working, I'm at home and I have clients call me and eventually the conversation comes around to, so what is going on in your industry? And I want to make sure that I say what you know, what we should be saying at this point. And, you know, instead of just saying, oh God, it's, you know, there's so many changes and we're not going to really be solid until until the summer. But do you have like what do they call it? The elevator speech?
Well, I think I just gave it, didn't I? I mean, I just went over the status of the
Right,
lawsuits.
Right,
And
right.
what all the parties are facing. So you
Right.
just tell them the facts.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's no magic, you know, dialogue. And like I say, it's gonna be different to each party based on the way they look at the world, where they are on the Enneagram,
Mhm.
you know? How they perceive information. You're gonna have to adapt to every individual you talk to. Okay, let me move on to contract training real quick. I have a couple items. We've had two interesting things that came up in the same week, which I hadn't really seen before, and so it's odd that they appeared all of a sudden the same week. And they both have to do with addendums to listing agreements. So the first one was a divorcing couple, where the property is held in the trust of one of two parties, and the other party is a beneficiary of the trust. So what do we need? Whose signature do we need on the listing agreement? In that case.
No, say that again, sorry.
Okay, it's owned by a trust. Whose signature do we need on the listing agreement?
The trustee.
The trustees, right?
Whoops.
So that's what we need to get the listing, right?
Mhm.
But the trustee wants to know that the beneficiary is agreeable to the sale. Is going to agree to the sale and not object.
Okay.
So how do we accomplish that? So the solution was write an addendum to the listing agreement where that the beneficiary will sign and said the beneficiary hereby acknowledges this listing agreement and agrees to the sale. Something along those lines. It's creative writing, so run it by me. I'll run it by legal if we feel we need it. But that was an interesting scenario. Now, the second one was very similar. It was, but this is tenants in common. We got TIC, 50% ownership. And there's a TIC agreement. I think I mentioned this last week, but there's a TIC agreement that says one party can occupy this home on the land, and the other party can occupy this home on the land. So there's two separate parcels, they're separated, you know, it's by acreage, they can't even see each other. And the TIC agreement says that they can occupy these separate areas. So now it's been for sale as a whole, but nobody's wanted to buy it as a whole. And this buyer, this owner, he really wants to get out. So he wants to sell just his 50% interest in the TIC. This owner, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to reduce the price. He really doesn't care if it sells him. So is that possible that this TIC owner could sell his interest separately?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can get a listing agreement there. But the TIC agreement has language in it that says the property will not be sold without the other party agreeing to it.
Well, then you can't.
Well, no, you can get their agreement,
Oh, you can get there.
Yeah.
right? So,
They wouldn't have to move out, but they have to agree to that person moving in.
yes, right,
Okay,
right.
all right.
right. So there's two things. There's first of all, the agreement has requires that they agree to this, that the other guy wants out selling it. So that's part of the addendum to the listing agreement. We write up the listing agreement just for the 50%. There's an addendum. The other TIC owner, right, you know, we write something that says the owner A hereby agrees that owner B can sell the 50% interest. But the other thing is the TIC agreement has no language in it about assignment, whether it can be signed or not.
Oh,
You know, our contracts, our RPA and so forth have language about assignment. This TIC agreement, which is just a simple 2-page document, there's nothing about assignment. So I don't know in common law, and you wouldn't either, if that is legally assignable or, you know, requires some, it's not, maybe it's a personal agreement, it's just to that one party. So the other part of the amendment to the listing agreement is that the owner A agrees to the assignment of the TIC agreement to a new buyer. So those two things then would allow us to sell owner B's share, knowing that owner A's agreed to it and will substitute this new buyer in with TIC. Okay, so those are two interesting things that came. And then I had this question, I had a consulted with someone who asked if there would be any way of having rights to a property without being on the title. She has debt issues from a previous marriage, and since she's working on getting a spousal forgiveness from the IRS, but in the meantime, her new partner is thinking of buying, and they'd like to have her have rights to the property. Do you know of any resources where I could share, or is that possible? So let me ask our lender here. When you've got two couples want to buy a property, these are unmarried people. One doesn't have a good credit, so they don't want to be on the loan, but they want to have an ownership interest. Can that work from a lender's point?
It can work, they can put them on title after the transaction.
Right.
You know, California is a community property state, so let's start with that first. So if a married couple buys, or just the husband buys it, the wife is gonna be automatically on title. So they have to quit claim off. So if you get two unmarried people and just he buys the property, not the girlfriend or the partner, she's nowhere on the loan, nowhere on the title. She has to be put on the title after the fact, and we don't care. You can put
Your dog on the title.
your dog on the title, or your goldfish on the title. You can put anybody on the title you want to. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was the answer I gave her too, that, okay, there's two ways you might do this. You might accomplish it through a tenant in common agreement. I don't know. Or you put them on title after the closing.
right.
Yeah, so I think that satisfied them that they had an option to handle it that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we can do loans to where people are on title only,
Yeah,
you know, and from the beginning, we can do that. But if they're married, then they have to quit claim off.
yeah.
So married, even if you have prenups and then that you're still,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't
You
matter.
have to quit claim off.
You have to quit claim off.
So sole and separate property doesn't really work, right? Yeah, okay. We used to do that, you know, buying this or sole and separate property with,
Well, you can buy it. I mean, yeah, you can. Yeah.
yeah, it's a community property if you're married. Cool. All right, I think that's all I have on my end. Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, Gary.
Roger.
I-
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
I did have one question, on that whole business of, let me see if I could phrase this correctly. The addenda where everybody is agreeing, like in that trust sale, the addenda of who can sell and when and all that. Is that language written up by lawyers? Because that sounds awfully law-like to me.
Yeah. I typically would look at the language and run it by our legal counsel
Okay,
before you know, using it in the agreement.
okay.
Yeah, I kind of don't understand either, because my house is in a trust. Me and my wife's trust, and my two kids are my beneficiaries. Do I have to now get their okay for me to sell a house? Is that what you were saying?
Well, we did have a case a while back where the beneficiaries
I don't understand.
to the trust objected to the sale that the trustee was trying to do.
That's great.
Now, I know the title company said that doesn't matter, they can object all they want. But the trustee found it easier to get the beneficiary to agree to it than to go through have them sue and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
So, you know, your kids are gonna agree to what you do, so no, you don't have to do that. In this case, it's a divorce.
So
The
Yeah.
trustee is concerned that the other party is gonna object and create legal problems, so they want to have this agreement up front.
Right, right. I get.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't have any, like I said, Alex, that's creative writing, I don't encourage it. And if we, depending on what is creative writing you're using, I typically will run it by legal.
Right, thank you.
Okay, Roger.
Gary, thank you always for inviting me to your sales meetings, appreciate it. As I said, I love those two pictures of our leaders here, but I'd like to show you a picture here introducing the new Randall
my
Kaufman.
God.
Look at that, look at that, right? Looking all windswept and interesting, right?
Right.
He's looking fantastic.
Most interesting man in the world.
It looks like a Netflix documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see Randy back at the end of the month, and Gary and Randy will be back on the saddle again. So I'm really excited about that. So a little reminder, this is obviously a artist's rendition of the Gordian knot, right? You know, you've got to unravel the Gordian knot. And as a reminder, most agents know what's happening. Good agents understand what's happening, but great agents can explain what's happening. So just like you were all asking questions of Gary about the NAR agreement, what it means to us, this learning to be able to explain it, whether it's on the buy side or on the sell side, you know your clients are going to say to you, what's going on in your industry? And you have to know how to respond. And if I could give any advice at this point, your response should be, and I think Mary Johnson asked that, Maury Johnson, what should the script be? My suggestion would be, there's a lot of information out there. What have you heard? Always take the temperature. Always take the temperature, then you will know how to respond. Because if you just start talking, it's going to be a verbal vomit and you're not going to know whether you're hitting the mark or not. Always take the temperature. There's a lot of information out there. What have you heard? Then you will be way more informed. And remember, a pause, looking reflective, thinking before you respond is worth 10,000 words. It looks like you're in control. Right? Very important. So I like images, and I created this one because there's a battle royale going on in the marketplace between inventory and affordability and who's going to win out. So you've got the realtors and the builders on one side trying to extract inventory, and you've got the buyers on the other side with affordability. What's going to happen? And can you explain this to what's happening? So I thought I would just introduce this morning some angles to help you with inventory and with affordability as much as I can. And the question to ask is, are smaller homes coming to the market? Because smaller homes will in some way doesn't solve affordability, but it helps your buyers afford to get in to start earning equity. That's this morning. So builders are building smaller homes. You can see this is the source of some National Association of Home Builders. More than a third of builders say they built smaller homes in 2023, and more than a quarter plan to construct even smaller this year. This is good news for everybody. And it's really important. Can you explain the importance of this now to a first-time home buyer? Rose Quint, also from the National Association, it's related to two factors that are linked. First, we've seen changes in home buyer preferences. And secondly, housing affordability has worsened in the recent years. Hence, the builders, the best way they can do is respond about building smaller homes. And many people who are leaving their parents' homes to buy homes are looking for something smaller. And I'll jump into this a little more. Home buyers want smaller homes. You can see from 2003 to 2023, the median square footage of finished area, it's been going down steadily. It peaked a little bit during COVID. People wanted bigger homes because the nature of home changed during COVID. But in general, people are looking for smaller homes. And the two top buying generations are searching for small homes. Millennials are looking for smaller starter homes, and baby boomers looking to downsize. These are great ways of just talking to people, explaining the market, because once they see that you can control the narrative, they will open up about other opportunities that they may be interested in when you find their why. But both groups are downsizing for different reasons, because they do not require homes in excess of 2,500 square feet. I don't like to read these things, but it's nice to get it into our brains. Many millennials are moving from either their parents' homes or smaller apartments and do not need a large detached home as their first house. And similarly, baby boomers are looking to move, maybe empty nesters wanting to downsize from their current homes. So having smaller homes are available, just really good in assisting with the affordability. And you can see this is being tracked by a census. Smaller households are increasing. Just 1 and 2 households are increasing over the years, tracked back since 1960. Everything else is rather flat. Affordability is at a historic low. The way to read this chart, ladies and gents, is the higher the bar, the more affordable it is. And you can see by that little blue bar at the end, that's where we are now.
And where's the orange? What, I can't read what dates they were. That was.
The orange, that's when the, here's the
2009.
properties, that's 2008, when there was a glut of homes.
Oh, my God.
Much less. So affordability was right up. Now affordability is down. And so the concept of smaller homes is just a good idea to get people thinking about home equity and starting to build wealth, because this is how Joe Public builds wealth. And if you are at the age of 60 with a home that you've owned for a long time, you are 50 times wealthier than a renter that has been renting for the same length of time. I know home ownership is not for everybody, and it always feels like we're pushing people into a home. But if we're just looking about retiring gracefully with a little bit more money, it probably is more helpful to get in and start building equity. This from Veterans United: opting for a smaller, more budget-friendly house means you don't have to save as much for a down payment and upfront costs of owning a home. And this approach simplifies and speeds up the home buying process, letting you become a homeowner sooner. In fact, many renters are drawn to smaller homes quickly because they're less expensive and can start to building equity quickly, and they can get out of that rent trap. Right? This comment here from John Burns Research and Consulting Company: builders are reducing the square footage of their homes as a way to keep costs down and their homes affordable. They're offering upgrades, special perks, buying down the rates, all sorts of things to move their homes. They're endeavoring to respond that way. But there was a brief increase in size of homes during the post-COVID building boom, but home size is trending lower. You can see it's just trending lower again. You see there was a little bump, but generally it's coming all the way down. So the blue was pre-pandemic. No, during the pandemic, I'm sorry. You can see it boosted up, but then it's going down since.
Now, is the affordability, is this national or is this California?
This is national.
Okay.
This is national. The New York Times.
Oh, okay.
The downsizing accelerated last year when the interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage reached a 2-decade high, just shy of 8%. This is when it started. Yeah. And new built homes are getting smaller. You can see Zonda tracks it all the time. You can see it's getting smaller and smaller. You can see where suddenly the downsize and the size of the homes. This is again just an angle for you to get back talking, controlling the narrative, bringing new information to maybe first-time home buyers who think they've got to put down 20%, we'll never make it. You can say, well, maybe we just get you into a smaller home and then you get started, right? Home builders are adapting to the lowest affordability on record by building smaller homes and offering more incentives and price cuts to get people in. Look at this over here. This is, if you bought a home for $400,000, in 5 years from now, based upon all the predictions that housing prices are going to continue to go up and appreciate at a normal pace, not at the abnormal pace, but still 1 in 4 Americans believe prices are going to come down. 1 in 4 people we know are waiting for this thing to explode, and it's not going to. So just based upon the expected growth over the next 5 years, just looking at 400,000, you've suddenly got an extra $83,000 at the end of 5 years, just based on equity growth. Forget your deposit, forget that you're also paying down your mortgage, which is all adding to your wealth.
Tax savings,
Yeah,
too.
tax savings as well. This is, can you explain this? And this is where great agents who understand the market could take these and explain it, and it eases so much tension. The predominating sentiment in the marketplace is fear. And when you can counteract fear with clarity, competence, great communication, and certainty, that's the way you beat fear. Those are the C's: certainty, clarity, character. Over here again from John Burns. It's not solving the affordability crisis, just smaller homes, but it's creating opportunities for people to be able to afford an entry-level home in an area. And if you get that size down, that automatically will make it more affordable home. So I bring that to you, and I'll finish off with this. It's a question I've asked before many times. Everybody in your data bank knows that you're a great real estate agent. They all know that you'd go around the world to bring them a glass of water. They know that you would do everything for them. They know that you are ethical. So what's the number one reason you aren't getting a referral from every single person in your data bank? If everyone knows that about you.
We're not asking for them.
You're not asking for it, you're not top of mind, all the concept. I'm asking for the number one reason. I'm going to remind you, the number one reason you aren't getting a referral from every single person in your data bank who knows that you're a fabulous person and can do your job well is perceived indifference. Because they don't hear from you and they're not talking to them often, they perceive you are indifferent to them. And they're giving their referrals to someone who stops and smells the roses with them. So right now, someone could be eating your lunch because we're sitting here worried about what the NIR is doing. It's time to get into activity. It's time to talk. It's time to go out and speak to people. We've just had butter and eggs in Petaluma. Saw nobody there. Nobody. Not one realtor. Okay, we should have been there handing out cards and going wild and talking. Steve was like a kid in a candy store out there, right? Handing out cards, okay, talking about Palmyra, all that kind of stuff. But there was no excitement. There was no energy. Come on, guys. It's conversation time. It's conversation time. Conversations lead to reduction in fear, and it leads to pre-approvals. It leads to apps being taken. It leads to listing appointments. It leads to buyer's agreements when you can control the narrative. Everything we want is out there. So 15 years ago, oh God, letters. Ding, you got mail. Everybody happy. Today, unread emails. Yay, a letter. It's old-fashioned. It's sexy. Write someone a letter. One letter a day. One thing can change everything. In my company in November, we've changed it to Note-vember. We write 5 notes every day. Note-vember. But you can do this at any time. You can decide. Look at this here. Call them, I would say. The answer I get, I send them an email. It's better to call them. I also text them. Just call them. I'll send them another email. What is it? What is it that we are so fearful?
But they might pick
All right,
up.
look what the reveal. Look at this thing. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. My goodness. Hello. All right. Kids don't know what this is. No, dialing tone, right? What the hell is that thing? I'm reminding you, ladies and gents, this here, the most powerful prospecting tool in the world. It's even better than face-to-face. Because in the time it takes you to call or visit one person, you could have made 10, 15, 20 calls, right? It is the single best thing. What holds us back? I'm scared. I don't know what to say. They might say no. They don't want to buy a house from me. I spoke to them just last month. You're missing the picture. get in the flow with them, just talk to them. And someone on the line, you can call and say, hi, it's Roger. Listen, quick business call. This is what's happening in the marketplace. I wanted you to be aware of it. Now, what's going on in the world? You can, don't have this friend call and then slip in some real estate at the end. Just be cool, tell them, quick business call, this is what's happening. Right, now that you know that, let's talk about this. You can do this. There is no reason to be fearful. Remember, your ego tries to keep you safe. Your brain is not there to make you successful. Your brain is there to protect you. That's what your ego does. Your ego is not your amigo, all right? It's time to just call and risk looking goofy. Only 4 people will cry at your funeral. It doesn't matter. Make the call, right? All right. So Gary, with thanks, I appreciate you inviting me. You can stop sharing.
You know, what's interesting for me, because I'm old school too. I do that all the time. I call people. And it's interesting, I'll call someone and then I'll text them right away to say, I called and said blah, 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 blah. And they'll text me right back. So there's a certain age group that does not want to. Now, older people like me, they pick up the phone. But the younger people, so I call and then I text and then they respond. It's really.
It's so
They do
true.
not want to pick up the
And
phone.
what is my millennial son's, when I go to leave him a voicemail, what do I get?
Text.
Huh?
Do you get a text back?
No, I get a recording, right?
Oh, yeah.
What does it say?
Text me.
No, it says, my voicemail is full.
Oh.
Get me the a voicemail.
Oh, that's right, because they're over, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so, but it's certain, yeah, you have to figure out which people have, you know.
Yeah.
But for recording people, yeah, you can call people.
Did Steve do an update?
Yeah, I will get Steve to do an update, but I wanna do Hampton once real quick. Because I was gonna forget it. So any new listings to share? With all the tile people, any hands raised?
Yeah,
Liz, you got something?
yeah, well, Mara Khan and I have this incredible garden out in Sebastopol, on Azalea Lane. It's 7.5 acres. It's a habitat and it's a mid-century home that needs a little work. And we're still working on the price.
Oh, you had a price that was listed.
Well, we listed it at under 2 million, but he's now getting, there's articles in the paper. Meg McConney is gonna have an article Saturday on the garden. There was an article just written in the Sebastopol Times that said 2.5. So.
That's why Mara has a call into me.
Yeah, that's why. So,
All right,
so that's.
how do we deal with this crazy man?
I don't know, but he's, you know, he's telling the public something different. But he needs to sell quickly
Yeah.
and overpricing doesn't work.
Overpricing doesn't sell.
No.
Right, we know that.
Yeah.
Mary, anything?
Well,
Come on out here, make yourself present.
hello. So, 33 Shamrock, is coming on the market at 175,000 mobile home, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. In a great location in Shamrock Senior Mobile Home Park, space right around 850 there. And then, over in Colonial Park, another senior park on Old Redwood Highway, there's 248 Colonial coming on the market, and that's really cool. That backs up to a vineyard and it has an awesome side yard, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And that's going to be listed for 175. And so both of those are going to be very desirable, will sell quickly. And they're kind of coming on the market at the same time. It's just like the way it ended up getting stuff cleaned out and everything. So those two, and there's others, but those are the two latest ones.
Great,
Okay, thank you.
great, thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Sharon?
Yvonne? Oh,
Yeah.
good, she's on.
Hi, yeah, I might have mentioned this before, but 17 Estrella in Rancho San Miguel, we just got it on live. We're having an open house Saturday. It's a 2000 manufactured home, cathedral ceilings, tons of great light. It's really got a lovely living space. It's in a good spot in the park. And it's going on for $269. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Lowly home.
Great. Great, good. Armida?
No.
No. Come on, Armida. Yeah.
I have another one.
Okay,
It's
then.
Coffee Park. It's 3655 Milka Lane. It was a rebuild from the fires, built in 2018. And it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Vaulted ceilings, got sort of high-end upgrades, and it's going on for $850.
Oh, okay, Armida.
So we haven't decided on price yet, but we're gonna have a place in Novato. 6,500 square feet. Over an acre, and there's an adjoining 1 acre that possibly could be sold with the house, 4-car garage. In Novato on a private shared driveway view of the hills, I think what else, 8 bedrooms,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Talk about small.
8 bedrooms, about 8-9 bathrooms, a separate in-law unit. It does need work, it's a fixer, it's a trust sale, and the sister's been living there for a long time. Trying to get her out sooner so we can price it and get it ready, but it will need some work.
What do you think the range is going to be?
They're hoping 3 million, but it depends on how much work it needs. So we should know in a couple of weeks.
Okay, anything else? I just want to note, Alex did a little research quickly, and I guess net listings are legal in Texas and California. There's a reference in the chat if you want to check that out. Steve, what's happening in the mortgage world?
Well, I'll keep it really quick because we're already past an hour, but just like Roger said, buyers think prices are gonna go down. They also think rates are gonna go down. Spoiler alert, I don't think they are. At least not this year. When we started this year, there was supposed to be 4 or 5 Fed rate cuts coming as soon as May. Now it keeps getting pushed back, and it doesn't look like there's gonna be one until September. Who knows? So my point is, I think we're doing a real disservice to our buyers and our sellers by saying rates are gonna be coming down. Let's not prolong the agony any longer. They are what they are. We can follow them all day long, and they're gonna do what they wanna do. So I don't think that holding out hope is good for our buyers and sellers.
Right, now what about buying down points? That's something that I try to tell buyers right now, is that maybe there's an opportunity, at least for a year or so, you can
buy down points, absolutely. You can actually get seller credits to buy down the points if your buyer doesn't have a lot coming into. They allow for, you put 10% or less down, they allow for 3% seller credits. You put more than 10% to 25%, you get 6% seller credits are allowed. That's a lot of money. You put down 25%, 9% seller credits. So yes, absolutely. You can have the seller pay for points to buy it down. Usually a half a point or a point buys down, maybe a quarter point in rate. That's usually a good ballpark. But everything depends, but that's a great strategy to buy down the rate.
Remember that equation, 1 point in payment reduces the mortgage rate
By
by
about
a
a quarter
quarter for
percent.
how long?
Oh, forever.
For a
For
full-time
forever,
loan.
but I thought there were some that you could buy down for, let's say, a year.
Oh, those are temporary buy downs. Everybody's talking, I don't care for temporary buy
Right now,
downs.
so it doesn't make sense.
Because you start out at 6, then you move to 7 the second year, then you move to 8 the third year. And so it's temporary. And you think that the reason doing that is so
Because
that
rates are gonna come
rates
down.
can come, well, think of all the people that 2 years ago went into buy downs. And they're actually gonna be worse off than they are now. They can't refinance to a lower rate. So I'm not super happy with temporary buy downs, Remember, for the same cost, maybe a little bit more, you can get a permanent buy down over 30
So
years.
1 point is quarter point.
Is about a
So
quarter.
let's say if you were borrowing 600,000,
Okay,
what would be your savings every month? Because that's the kind of thing you try to figure out for someone. Okay, 600,000 you're borrowing.
between an interest rate of say 7 and 6 3/4,
Mhm.
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Cause I don't have a calculator. I can't, I'm not that good.
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of.
Everybody
things
has
that-
calculators, you know, so,
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to sort of figure out.
yeah.
what-
amortization calculator.
What
Yeah, yeah.
it's worth it,
yeah, yeah.
It really, and I'd be glad to work out some numbers for you.
Good.
Anytime you want.
Yeah. Steve and Deanna and the other good Pinnacle Home Loan agents who will are available to help with that kind of analysis.
Absolutely.
So I had this thought, and we'll wrap up here, but so the settlement that homeowners are gonna be able, who sold their home in the last 7 years, are gonna be able to opt into this settlement, okay? Now, I fall into that category, right? I sold a home 5 years ago.
So did I.
So do I want to take part $50 or $100 from this settlement, which I have no belief in, you know, which I think is just extortion. But personally, do I want to take that? And how about this as a reach out to our prior sellers? A touch, an SOI touch.
To ask them if they want,
Yes, to
Refund them?
advise them of. That they could be part of the class action
But
and
then
get a
I'll-
refund.
Yeah,
Is-
but that's
aren't we
all.
incriminating ourselves?
You wanna list your home?
It's a delicate question, and I'm not sure I have the answer, but.
Yeah, in a way, I would, because I find that it's basically trivial, I mean, because the lawyers are getting more
Right.
money,
Yeah.
and you'll get, $5.
We'll get more than $5.
I know, but-
But at the same time,
I would be-
It- at the
Go
same
ahead.
time, I think, if we do use that, I think it's a good tact. I think what happens is your credibility increases because your sellers are saying, this dude knows that he's telling me about a disadvantage, yet it gives you the opportunity to make it clear to them how frivolous this whole thing is and how much more you are willing to give them the opportunity to test it and to say, hey, I'm supposed to be on this side of the fence, but let's give this a run. And honest to God, I have a feeling they'll be saying things like, you're right. This is stupid, and it's,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, and as Roger said, is if we don't do it, somebody else is, right?
yeah.
Somebody else is gonna see that. as a
Yeah,
market.
no, I think it's a good tact. I think it's a
So
really
you
good
test
tact.
it out and then tell us what.
I'll try it out on my clients, okay. Just one more thing, Kylie is handling the whole marketing while Haley's on maternity leave. Did anyone hear if Haley's had her baby?
Haven't heard.
Wasn't she due this month?
Yeah, I think so.
It was due
It's not fixed with
first of May,
video.
right?
I think end of April.
All right, so it should be due, baby should be due right here.
Yeah, and she's so
now.
petite, you don't want her to get too late. Oh.
So anyway, please give Kylie as much advance notice of any marketing requirements you have. Don't come to her with last minute, I have to have this today kind of stuff. Because she has a lot on her plate. So please be thoughtful of certainly make your marketing requests, but give as much advance notice as possible. Okay? Any other things from your end? Okay.
I don't have anything.
All right, everybody go out there and make it a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, now we